Hello YouTube. I just wanted to show you a little experiment that I've been running here at home on these two Henckel knives. Now they're probably late 80s era ice hardened Henckel knives. Again, they're personal knives. They were the first two decent knives that I was able to purchase back in the day. I've maintained them, kept them reasonably sharp, and I have not abused them. There's no damage on either one. And what I did back in mid-December, and it's now mid-March, essentially the 8-inch chef knife, I sharpened at 15 degrees. The 6-inch chef's knife, I have sharpened at 17 degrees. And this is part of a long-term test I was running here. The knives are the same steel. They're the same age. The only difference was the cutting edge. Now, initially, the 15-degree knife was amazing. It outperformed virtually any other kitchen knife I had. I could slice anything cleanly. I was using it more and more and more. And again, it's a slight departure because I do use this knife the most often. It's the one that I go to kids' lunches, kids' meals, most of my food prep. Again, I'm dealing with smaller items, not watermelon size. So I do use the 6-inch knife, probably because of the balance on it. I just like the way it feels in my hand, and the center of gravity is quite close to here, so I can grip it. Now, the bigger knife, although really good, it actually has a center of gravity fairly far forward. So really, I grip it here to keep it balanced. And though not a big deal, and again, you can cut a lot of food with this. Larger chickens, turkeys, you know, a sizable object like a watermelon or cantaloupe. But this knife gets most of the use. Now, at 15 degrees, this was a game changer. I could literally slice, peel, chop, vegetable prep, piece of cake. I could cut lovely, picture-perfect slices from chicken, meat, what have you. Amazing performance. Now, what's happened over time is this knife, although it still feels sharp, has noticeably underperformed this knife. Now, out of the gate at 15 degrees, this was the top performer. But now, coming up to the end of month 4 in the test, this knife is outperforming this one. Now, the only difference being that 2 extra degrees I've left on the apex of the shorter knife. Now, the only conclusion I can come to is that the steel, and I know the steel in these two Henckels is relatively soft compared to Japanese knives and some of my other knives. And again, steel has improved over the years. Many things have gotten worse, but steel technology has improved, and these are becoming dated. But that 2 degrees has made an amazing difference in edge retention, a noticeable difference. This edge, although probably being used more than this edge, is currently outperforming. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. It's my own personal test. I thought 15 degrees would be the end-all be-all, and perhaps if I had slightly harder steel or a different type of steel, the 15-degree edge would have worked. But I have to tell you that on this vintage of knife with this type of steel, and again, typical German knives from the late 80s, early 90s, 15 degrees might be too aggressive. So the purpose of this video, well, essentially what my purpose is I want to take the edge on this knife and I want to regrind it at 17 degrees. Again, both knives are still technically sharp. I use them multiple times per day. I'm still producing decent quality food with them, but I noticed that the other day I was chopping an onion and I had to use more physical force to fine dice an onion than with this knife compared to this knife. Now, again, I'm not taking anything away from these knives. Both have been fantastic. They put in decades of service. All I've done is simple maintenance and sharpening. I've had to reduce the bevels a bit over the years, but again, nothing that an extra couple of minutes couldn't achieve. Over the years, I've been using whetstones traditionally to sharpen these. Now I've upgraded to a Tormek machine. I basically have put the edges on these with the Tormek using the regular SG stone, a starting coarse, finishing fine, and a quick strop, or basically a deburr on the Tormek tool. So today's mission is 17 degrees on this. And again, it's not a dull knife. I think I can get by with a quick touch-up and deburr. And just before I get too carried away, I'm going to show you what I mean by doing a very quick Bess test. And again, I'm not dealing with a dull knife. It is still what I would consider reasonably sharp, and it's functioning very well in the kitchen, but I just noticed that it's time to do something to keep that performance level up. So what I'll do very carefully on this, 641. Okay, I am not imagining it. This knife, or at least where I tested it, is dull. It needs TLC. So let me get the shop set up and we will get started. We're here at the Tormek T8. I've got the knife clamped in the small knife jig. It's solid. I've got the angle set up for 17 degrees using the Tormek jig, which I really appreciate. I've got some Sharpie just to do a sanity check on the line. I'm going to make a couple of light passes and see where we're at. Now I can tell by the sound that the stone is fine and we're not taking out much metal. I can feel that. I'm liking the look of that. I'm going to make one pass on the other side just to keep everything equal. This side is going to need some more work, but I'll bear that in mind. So a quick pass on the other side. And again, I can feel that we're barely taking off any metal at all. Okay, flip. Now this is the side that needs a little bit more work from what I can determine. And again, very little metal is being removed. I can feel it. needs a little bit more work, especially on this side. Wow. I'm using a little bit more pressure here. Just a subtle amount. Okay, I can tell that I'm making some progress. I'd like to make a couple more passes. I can feel a burr on this side. That's a very good sign. All the way across the knife. No burr on that side. I'm going to make 2 more passes on each side, and again I'm using very light pressure. I'm not taking off a lot of metal. I just want to make a 2-degree change to that angle so I can continue my testing. Okay. Nice. Okay. Slight unevenness on the bevel, but it's not bad at all. A little tiny spot right there. Nothing to write home about. Got a lovely sharp edge. We've got a nice even bevel. Could use a tiny bit more work right there, and a tiny bit more on the tip. So let's just make one little pass right there. We can take care of what's going on the tip. Still could use a bit more there, but we've got the tip where we want it. I can feel a burr. I can feel a very small but even burr all the way along the apex, which is exactly what I'm looking for. No, I think we're going to stop here and quit while we're ahead. And I'm going to take that burr off. So bear with me while I readjust the camera, and we will remove that burr. Now, one of the beauties of the Tormek system, and in particular this Tormek angle jig, is that the diameter of the wheel is taken into account when setting the reference. What I mean is I can take the 10-inch wheel, set the angle, take the 10-inch wheel off the machine, switch to the honing wheel, and without doing anything to the jig, all I have to do, place it on the smaller diameter wheel, or larger diameter wheel for that matter, set the angle, and I've set it to precisely 17 degrees. It's really great. You've got each degree. You don't have to do any interpolation or Kentucky windage. You've got it. It's there. And then this knob sets the protrusion. And once that's set, it doesn't change until you take the knife out of the jig, so everything remains constant. You can switch from wheel to wheel to wheel. If you have a collection of wheels and you're going through a progression, it works out really, really well. I'm not using that right now. I've just got the standard wheel. Again, I've used fine grit, which is all I wanted to do. This knife is not dull. It just needed an angle change, in my opinion. So I'm going to apply a little bit of Tormek polish to the wheel. Just, it doesn't take that much. And I'm going to remove the burr. Okay, I'm going to start here because that's where I finished. And I'm going to just... Now, you know that I like precision honing. I just do. Because again, we're using precision grinding on the Tormek system. And it just makes sense to, while you have the machine set up, hone at the same angle or very close. I've tried it both ways, and I find that precision honing makes a very subtle difference. It's not a huge difference, but it's a measurable difference or noticeable difference, and I care about that. I'm going to make another light pass. Going to make another matching one on the other side, and I'm going to stop. And let's get this knife cleaned up and have a look at it. Okay. I'm going to take some of this compound off. And I'm just going to touch the edge, see how it feels. But in theory, I should be there. It's sharp. The tip's sharp. The blade is not absolutely perfect, but very close. One slight grinding defect there from a previous grind. A little bit of unevenness, but again, we're really splitting hairs. I think this knife's ready for the kitchen. Just check it one more time. I'm not feeling any burr. No. And I've got what feels like a terrific edge. I'm actually going to be brave and take it out of the clamp. And I'm just going to do a test cut. I know it's not paper, it's fabric. Well, that's sharp. Anyway, let's wash it up and try cutting something with it. We're back. The knife is cleaned up, washed, and I have to admit that I have used it once or twice between the shop and the Bess tester, but we're going to test it anyway. I've just actually done a little bit of food prep, but let's see where we're at. And again, this is just after the Tormek leather wheel and basic paste. Okay, 268, which is very close to a factory high-end cutlery standard. So essentially what we've done is we have restored this knife to near new condition. Can we get it sharper? Yeah, I bet we could. We would have to spend a lot of time on it, but I could strop it. I could probably take it to a finer grit on the Tormek. I could use Japanese water stones, but you saw me sharpen this knife, and honestly, for kitchen tasks, I think we're right on the money with it. We could spend a ton of time, but again, this is a daily use knife, gets used every day, all day, 7 days a week, and it does its job. We spent minimal time restoring this edge. Now it's at 17 degrees, so it should last as long as its shorter counterpart. So what I'm going to do now is do a test on an allium. because we didn't sharpen this knife for the sake of sharpening it. We sharpened it to actually make our lives a little better and streamline food prep. So let's give it a try. And again, my knife skills are not strong, but I'm just going to safely, now so far so good. That's gliding through that. Needed a little bit of force for that. Here in the UK, some of the produce we get is excellent and some isn't really very good. Onions and alliums, I don't know where they come from, probably all over Europe, the Middle East. Some are outstanding and some are essentially just like cardboard or a little stiffer. And they have the flavor of cardboard. For the most part, they're pretty good. So let's just see what we can do. And my original complaint with this knife is it was not chopping onions very well. I had real trouble doing fried dice. I'm using the tip of the knife, and again, excuse my poor knife skills, but I am very happy. I can use anywhere I want on the edge. It's a little easier back here, but that's probably because our center of balance. I really want this part, the tip, to be sharp, and I can tell you that it is perfectly satisfactory. I'm going to use this for shallot gravy tonight. Anyway, thank you very much. We've got a sharp knife. The real test is will 17 degrees outlast 15 degrees with this knife, with this steel, with what I'm doing. Anyway, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. Take care, everyone.